XDefiant was meant to be Ubisoft's COD killer, and with such an amazing start of gaining 11 million players in just the first few weeks, in less than half a year, it was announced dead. So let's go back in time and find out how we got to this point.
We're excited to share a first look at a project we're developing at Ubisoft San Francisco.
Tom Clancy's XDefiant.
Combining realistic gunplay with personalized classes.
So to begin with, back in 2021, the game was revealed as a Tom Clancy game. Very odd. This reveal left players excited for an FPS game from Ubisoft since it's refreshing, and it did look promising. But it also left players confused because a game like this didn't fit into the Tom Clancy universe at all. So not long after the game getting revealed, there were already concerns of where this game is heading and what direction it's actually going to go in. Sorry, you will have to excuse my camera in this video. It's doing its own thing today. Pretty normal camera behavior there. Anyway, since its reveal, Ubisoft then conducted loads of closed betas and open testing as well, which received mixed reviews. Although the feedback was mixed, it also started to generate a lot of hype. Coming from the Rainbow Six Siege scene, I saw a lot of players that were actually looking forward to this game. However, these open testing and closed betas did raise some concerns. The game wasn't finished. It needed some polishing. So that's what they did. The initial planned release for this game was towards the end of 2023, sort of September, October time. But due to the betas raising certain inconsistencies, this release was delayed. Which is great, and also really bad. It's good for games and developers to sort of take their time finishing the game they're making, right? So if they need a little bit more time to finish the game, definitely go for it. However, this comes at a cost. XDefiant had a lot of hype, but due to this delay, a lot of it died down. So come its official release in May 2024, the hype had died down. However, the game had an amazing launch. As I said earlier, it accumulated 11 million players in the first few weeks. Within the first 2 days, it had 300,000 concurrent players, which is amazing for any new FPS game that's coming out. Now, that isn't to say that it was the best launch ever. There were some issues. Players were stuck in menus and couldn't actually get into a game. But I think that's just down to the fact that Ubisoft did not expect this game to blow up on its launch day. So within 10 hours, the issues were fixed and players could then get into games, which isn't a bad turnaround time, could be better. But despite such a strong start, player retention became a massive issue. So by June, XDefiant had 11 million players, but the numbers started to drop. Why is that? Now, there's a few reasons. Let's get into the first one, and that's balancing problems. There are a few guns in the game that were very overpowered, let's say. There was no recoil to them, and they were so easy to use. From my personal experience, yeah, this is really fun for the first 30 minutes, but I don't understand how players can use a broken weapon for so long. Personally, to me, it just gets boring. And it's even more boring when you're dying to that same weapon over and over again. So this is the first issue. The devs took their time to balance these broken weapons. And not only the weapons, but I don't know if you guys remember the Watchdog faction and that little drone that would run around. That was so frustrating. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there was this drone in the game that is like a little spider bot you get if you're the Watchdog character. And you just chuck it on the floor and it will go find someone. You don't have to aim it, you just chuck it on the floor and it will go around the map and find someone. And then once it has found someone, it will lock onto them, do like a little sprint at them, jump on their face, and you basically just can't do anything. If you're that player, you're stunned, you can't really look around, shoot or anything. You're useless. Now it does go off over time, but again, it was too broken where it'd be on there long enough for you to just die if using a gunfight. They eventually did nerf that, but it took their time. And as well as these balancing problems, XDefiant was marketed as a no-skill matchmaking game, which was seen as a good thing. However, this backfired. After a while, and this is with any game, you will start to get different groups of players. You'll have casuals and you'll also have sweats. Now, with a game that has no skill matchmaking, you're mixing both of those player groups together, and it doesn't really go too well, as you'd imagine, really. Casual players that probably working from 9 to 5, come home, play some mindless FPS shooting, but are then getting paired with sweats that have probably been playing it the entire day for weeks on end, and they just can't get a break, the casual players. So this led to players actually wanting skill-based matchmaking, which was a feature they proudly said was part of the game. Now, Another issue with the game was the lack of content. The amount of content on launch was brilliant, and there was a lot there to sort of get your hands on, but over time it just took them too long to add anything new to the table. Eventually they'd add a new map and a new faction, but it might have been a little bit too little too late, which left players with a general sort of feeling of there isn't enough innovation. Another issue that I personally found annoying is the lack of any sort of competitive play. It took a long time for them to add a ranked mode into XDefiant. And I think with any FPS shooter, you're going to want to be that competitive type to be better than other players. Obviously, we spoke about casual players, and it is nice to just play a mindless shooter. But personally, to me, that can get very boring very quickly. And I'm sure a lot of players agree as well. You want to be competitive in these games, and you want to feel like you've earned something from playing it. On top of there not being really any sort of progression system in XDefiant, the lack of any ranked play meant that players weren't really working towards anything. One of the big things in Siege is that players will play ranked to get their charm. There's a whole culture around that where everyone wants to get champion to get the champion charm because obviously it looks the best. And I think with the lack of anything to aim towards in XDefiant, it pushed a lot of players away. Some that would have been looking for that competitive edge, something to work towards. Now, all these problems are valid, right? But XDefiant did have potential. It just took them too long to sort of carve out their own identity in this already oversaturated FPS market. They were too slow to implement basic things such as these balancing like patches and ranked mode, which are vital for keeping any FPS alive. So over time, the updates slowed and concerns grew. But the lead developer was adamant this game was not dying. After all concerns were raised towards him, he posted on Twitter saying, "Don't worry guys, this game is not dying. I've not heard anything about it anyway. Look forward to the new season that we're going to be releasing soon." So as far as the developers knew, the game wasn't going to be shut down, as they were still working on more content to bring to the game. I'm sure they felt the game sort of slipping away, because in the final few months, it seemed like they were working hard to actually bring out more and more content. But on December 3rd, 2024, they announced they were initiating the sunset process, which meant they would begin to shut the game down. So, I'll ask you, was XDefiant doomed from the start, or did it just need more time to grow? Personally, I believe that most games do need time to grow these days. There are a lot of examples of new games that come out, and it's just a matter of months before it's shut down, because it's not got the player base the publisher wants them to get. If we just look at Siege, for example, the first year of Siege wasn't brilliant. It took time for a game like Rainbow Six Siege to find its player base. Not everyone is going to pick up a game instantly and make it their new main. It takes time to sort of get that bond between a game and a player, and you feel more sort of committed towards it. But on top of this, there were issues that needed to be addressed and needed to be fixed a lot quicker than what we saw here. So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and if you did enjoy this little breakdown, leave a like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it, and thank you for watching.